Welcome to part 3 of vacation rentals. This section is titled, How Big of a Home Should You Buy? Okay. We're also going to talk about, building a home or buying a home, existing home. Okay. So let's talk first about the size of the home. Okay. So when you're looking at building or buying a home, one of the things you need to figure out is, again, how big should you go? How many bedrooms? How many bathrooms? What is your what is it that you're going to be selling, essentially, right? What are you going to be renting out? And so this is an important question to ask. Okay, I would refer you back to episode 1 where we talk about where to scout an area. Okay, so when you're looking at areas to go, one of the things you're looking at is, hey, what homes are renting out, right? How many bedrooms? How many baths? How many can it sleep? Essentially, that's the big question: is how many can it sleep, right? And so that's one thing you're going to be looking at is, hey, how big of a house or small of a house do I want to do? Okay. Me personally, I like being at the higher end of the market. Okay. I like building the bigger homes. Number one reason is there's not as much competition. Okay. Frankly, because not as many people can afford the bigger homes, right? The bigger the home, the more cost it is. And frankly, there's more risk involved, right? I mean, if you have a larger mortgage, hey, you better hope that you've done some due diligence to make sure that you can rent that out, right? Because if you can't, hey, that's a large mortgage. You probably have more expenses too, right? Higher utilities, maybe higher other costs and stuff like that, okay? So you want to make sure you understand, how big should you go, okay? I like being on that higher end because, again, people can justify that higher cost, right? Maybe $1,000 a night or something versus, a couple $100 a night, right? And the reality is it's the same amount of work for me as a landlord for somebody that rents the house for 200 or 1,000, right? It doesn't really, it's the same cost or same amount of time that I'm doing. So does it make more sense to do a bigger home? Because now you can make more money for the same amount of work, right? Again, the big thing is just there's more risk, okay? So now, that's just me. I also understand that, hey, it's super scary to buy, a vacation home, and oftentimes, I don't want to put that much money into something, right? It's scary. I want to make sure it'll work. Let's see, and maybe also you don't have as much money, right? Maybe you can't qualify for as big of a home because you can't, count rental income on that and stuff. So that's something to consider. Buying a smaller home is still a great idea. Okay, just again, go in with eyes wide open, knowing that hey, you're not going to be able to charge as much per night, okay, because it's not as big. You're also going to have a lot more competition, okay? So just know it, and just go into it with those eyes wide open. And if you are in that, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, right, townhome, condo, something like that, where there's a lot of competition, figure out things that can differentiate yourself, right? Maybe, for example, if it is a condo complex, make sure you're buying in an area that maybe has a pool, okay? Or some other nice amenities that are very attractive to people coming in. They're like, oh, hey, okay, I like that house because it's got that, right? If you're building, near a, some kind of big thing like National Park or Disney World is an easy one, right? Maybe you have themed rooms, right? You have a Donald Duck room and a Mickey Mouse room and a Cinderella room or whatever, right? You have different rooms that are kind of really catered to kind of make the house look a little more cool, right? Something different that people aren't necessarily, going to see in that next home that's near you, because you have to differentiate your home. Little story for you is that so we had a guy that booked our home and he said, hey, I was looking at other homes. I liked this other home too, but yours had a foosball table, so that's why I got yours. A foosball table. It cost me like $500, but because we had a foosball table, he booked our home over the other one that was very similar. Okay, so again, have things that differentiate your house from the others, because that might be the difference between getting the booking and not, especially when all things else are equal. How many it sleeps, the price is relatively the same, location's the same. That's what stands out, right? So you want to make sure you can do that. Another thing you want to look at is building or buying, okay? There are definitely advantages to both. Building a home, you get exactly what you want. You can build it with as many bedrooms as you want. You can customize it so that you're getting, master bedrooms on every area, right? You can have a bunk bedroom where it sleeps, big large room that can sleep 15 in that single bunk bedroom. You customize the home. It's your home, right? The downside, of course, of building a home is I think sometimes it can be more expensive, in the sense that, you know, a home that's already furnished, for example, if you bought a home that was furnished already, that saves you a lot of money in furniture. It's also, you know, you have to put in maybe landscaping, you have to do, you know, there's just more kind of costs up front sometimes. But, I mean, man, you're getting exactly what you want. If you were to buy a home, especially an existing home in a nightly rental area, perhaps you're finding a home that's already being rented out, right? And the benefit of that is, hey, you're already walking into an operation that's working. Oftentimes those homes probably going to cost a little bit more though, because you're walking into a home that's already working, right? And so they know that it's making money, they are advertising it that way, and so there's that thing. If you're able to find a home that wasn't a nightly rental before, but you've done your due diligence to make sure that legally you'd be okay to do it, then that could be a win. And you can talk to the sellers and say, hey, you know, can I buy your furniture also, right? And maybe that saves you some money there too, because now you don't have to furnish the home, which is really a large expense, especially because you can't finance that, right? It's not something you can include in the mortgage. You've got to come up with the cash. I mean, unless the furniture place finances it, but then that's probably expensive too, right? So, you know, a good benefit of buying an existing home is being able to do that. So that concludes part 3 on building a home, buying a home, how big of a home.